Alright, welcome to the 8.6.0 public test build patch notes, where there is a absolute plethora of changes happening involving a load of changes towards the scoring system for blood points on survivors, an all new map variant for the Eyrie of Crows, tons of minor enhancements and changes for some killers, and as well as most importantly, the all new killer KanekiKen, aka the Ghoul, with their Tokyo Ghoul crossover. Also, shout out to my buddy Scuffed Art. He has his own YouTube channel. He's the one that's been helping me with all of these videos involving the public test build and patch note changes, so you have him to thank for even making these possible. Do please go check him out. He posts fucking hilarious stuff. He has much funnier editing style than I do, and I think you guys would really enjoy it. Honestly, this looks fantastic, but without wasting too much time, because this is going to take a long time to edit, let's get right into it. Alright, starting off with some balance changes to the Legion. He's going to be getting a good couple of stats changed, if only in a minor way. Starting off with the decreased fatigue duration being reduced from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. They're increasing the movement speed during fatigue from 2.07 to 2.3, so the stun is not as long, nor is it as slow when you finish Fatal Frenzy. They've increased the duration of Fatal Frenzy from 10 seconds to 11 seconds, and they've also decreased the cooldown of Fatal Frenzy from 20 seconds to 15 seconds. And on top of that, they've increased the bonus movement speed gained per hit during Fatal Frenzy to 0.24 from 0.2. I believe this is going to change it from a 5% increased movement speed to a 6% increased movement speed. Not a lot at first, but gains a lot more when you get more stacks. Alright, moving on to the Xenomorph. We have some interesting changes coming around in terms of balances for ups and downs. So they are increasing the tail attack charge time from 0.2 seconds to 0.35 seconds. It's nearly double the time it takes to charge up the tail. They've also increased the tail attack charge volume for survivors to make it so it's a little bit more auditory. And also, they have decreased the missed tail attack cooldown from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds to make it less punishing. Moving on to the tunnels though, they've increased the killer instinct range when exiting a tunnel from 12 meters to 16 meters so you can see them a little bit further. And they are decreasing the time it takes to exit the tunnel from 2.25 seconds to 1.5 seconds, which is a much faster exiting time. Now some changes to the turrets. They are increasing the amount of time it takes to burn the Xenomorph out of crawler mode to 175 points, which used to be 100 points, which is just a 75% longer duration to burn them out. They are increasing the delay before the heat begins to dissipate, meaning before the heat buildup from the turret starts to go away, from 1 second to 15 seconds. It's going to take exceptionally longer for it to begin now, and on top of that, they are decreasing the rate at which the heat dissipates from 25 per second to 2 per second. They're obviously trying to make it so it's not as easy to get the Xenomorph out of crawler mode with one turret, but they are making it so it's a lot easier to knock him out on a second turret if the first one doesn't do the job. Alright, moving on to the good guy, also known as Chucky. We're getting some small improvements to the Hidey-Ho ability. They're decreasing Hidey-Ho's cooldown from 14 seconds to 12 seconds again, and they're also decreasing the time it takes to reach maximum speed at the start of a slice and dice and after scampering a window or a pallet. Simply meaning he won't have like a half-second delay before he reaches the maximum speed after the beginning of a slice and dice. Alright, moving on to the general killer changes, we were having some minor tear radius adjustments to some very specific killers. So, the Hillbilly and the Blights are going to have the tear radiuses increases to 40 meters from 32 meters. And on top of that, they are decreasing the Pigs, the Ghost Faces, and the Skull Merchants tear radius to 24 from 32, making them of the smaller tear radius group. DevNote says we've adjusted several killer tear radiuses to better fit with their intended playstyles. Killers with high mobility that can zip across the map at high speeds have had their radiuses increased to give survivors a greater chance to react to their approach. I can honestly understand this. To be honest, I could see this as something that nobody asked for, but at the same time I can also understand their reasoning. It does make a good amount of sense in this situation that the killers that would thrive on mobility would have a much higher alert range. Alright, moving on to a change that's related to a status effect. They are decreasing the time it takes to mend yourself from deep wound from 12 seconds to 10 seconds. They are decreasing the time it takes to mend another survivor's deep wounds from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. Just an overall 2-second reduction all around. After that, we have a brand new function coming into the game called the surrender option. I'm sure plenty of you have heard about this before since they've been mentioning it for quite a while now, and it's going to be giving the option for both the killer and the survivors to surrender the match and end it early while also maintaining all of their currencies gained, such as blood points, match XP, and so on. There are 2 stipulations for each side to be able to surrender and end the game. For the killer, it is either if when all remaining survivors are bots, meaning everyone else is disconnected and it is just bots remaining, or if there has been no generator completed in the last 10 minutes, meaning that survivors are just trying to hide and drag out the match as long as possible. For survivors, it's when all other remaining survivors are bots, likely if you are the last real survivor in the lobby and the rest have all disconnected, or it's if all survivors have been put into the dying state. Also, it's worth noting that they specifically called out anyone using plot twist to try to trigger this early. Plot twist using does not count towards this requirement. Also, one little quick note that I forgot to mention, because I'm only noticing this now after I've already edited most of this. For a change to the base game, they are increasing the duration that exit gates are visible with the notification from 7 seconds to 12 seconds, so you get to notice them just a little bit longer, which is more important to survivors than it is for the killers. Alright, after that we have a massive amount of survivor blood point balance changing, involving a lot of changes to the amount of blood points earned for doing certain actions, or pretty much any action for that matter. I'm not going to explain all of these here, so if you really want to take a look at them yourself, you can just pause the video for a moment and take your time as you wish. It's just a general massive increase to all the blood point gains for survivor actions, just so they can more entice the survivor role to be played more frequently. Alright, so one of the final changes, we are going on to a map change where they are adjusting many of the different tiles as well as the main building on Eyrie of Crows, such as changing positions for drops and windows to be placed for certain areas on the balcony. They've added a couple different variations of tiles as well, such as double pallet tiles, very fun. But also on top of that, they're adding a new variant to the Forsaken Boneyard, called the Dead Sands. It's the map that you've been seeing a lot in the background clips I've been using, and here's a little bit more seen in the footage. It's mainly a shack-focused map with a lot of the Eyrie of Crows related loops. I'm sure we all know that's quite fun. Alright, to top off the balance changes, we're going to be going on towards the perk changes. Now, to be honest, a lot of these for both the killer and survivors are just general statistic changes, so I will not be able to show any visual examples because they're really just numbers, and you'll see what I mean by that once we get into them. So, starting off with Alien Instinct, they are increasing the duration of the aura reveal from 5 seconds to 8 seconds. On top of that, they are increasing the Oblivious duration applied to that survivor from 16, 18, and 20 seconds to 40, 50, and 60 seconds. After that, we have Deathbound coming up. They are decreasing the minimum range required for the survivor to move away from the survivor they healed to trigger Oblivious, I know that's a lot of words, from 16, 12, and 8 meters to 12, 8, and 4 meters, with a solid 4 meter decrease. After that, we have Hysteria. They are increasing the Oblivious applied to survivors that were injured upon injuring another survivor from 20, 25, and 30 seconds to 30, 35, and 40 seconds. And on top of that, they are decreasing its cooldown from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. Following up, we have a rework, actually, for knockouts. Instead of being a slugging perk, they are making it so that when a survivor drops a pallet, if they move 6 meters away from it within 6 seconds of it being dropped, they gain 5% hindered for 3, 4, or 5 seconds. This is very niche and extremely bizarre, but I'm sure some people could find some more uses for it. After that, we have Nemesis. They are just increasing the aura reveal duration from 4 seconds to 8 seconds. Alright, after that, we're moving on to the survivor perk changes. These are all also very just minor and more statistic changes. So, starting off with Quick and Quiet, they're decreasing the cooldown from 30, 25, and 20 seconds to 25, 20, and 15 seconds for a solid 5-second cooldown decrease. After that, we have Deception. They have increased the duration in which you have to leave no scratch marks after activating it from 3 seconds to 5 seconds, and they're decreasing the cooldown from 30, 25, and 20 seconds to 25, 20, and 15 seconds for another 5-second cooldown reduction. After that, we have Dance With Me. They've increased the hidden scratch mark duration from 3 seconds to 5 seconds, and they have also decreased the cooldown by another 5 seconds in the exact same manner. Finally, we have Red Herring. They've decreased the time you are required to be on a generator before it activates from 3 seconds to 1 second, and they have also decreased the cooldown from also the exact same duration of 5 seconds on each value. Alright, it's finally time. We're moving on to the brand new killer, Ken Kaneki, also known as the Ghoul, with their amazing new Tokyo Ghoul crossover. As a fan myself, I'm quite looking forward to talking about this. So, let's start off with this ability, One-Eyed Terror. This ability grants the special ability Kagune Leap. Using the power button to charge and launch the Kagune, tentacles that attach to any vertical surface within range and quickly pull the ghoul forward. After completing a leap, the ghoul has a window to perform a secondary consecutive Kagune Leap, or put Kagune Leap into cooldown by pressing the active ability button. Kagune Leap will enter a cooldown once the ghoul has consumed their leaps, if they leap over a vault, or down pallets, or if they grab onto a survivor and successfully leap towards a survivor. If a ghoul's second consecutive leap targets a survivor, they will perform a grab attack. Grab attacks damage survivors if they are healthy, inflict deep wounds, and leave a Kagune mark. Performing a grab also triggers Enraged mode. The special ability Enraged mode will allow you to perform 3 consecutive Kagune leaps, and can vault over vaults more quickly if they target a survivor by doing so. They can also vault over pallets if you so choose. And rage mode remains active until there are no more survivors afflicted with a Kagune mark, and marked survivors will lose their mark once they are fully mended or if they are downed. What's more important to note about this though is there is a timer that starts after they lose their mark, and for that entire duration your enraged mode will remain. The ghoul cannot grab attack marked survivors, meaning you can only injure them from the healthy state to the injured state. You cannot down them with the same ability. Once no marked survivors remain, a countdown begins. When the countdown depletes, enraged mode will end, like I mentioned. A perfectly timed grab will add extra time to the countdown. The countdown is paused while carrying survivors. Now, what it means by perfectly timed grab is there is actually a quick time event that you have to hit perfectly when grappling towards survivors. If you manage to do this, like it said, it will extend the duration. Also, little tip for if you think this might be just similar to Legion, where you can only injure people with your ability, unless under certain circumstances. It is heavily advised that if you want to down somebody by catching up to them, use your ability to grapple to a nearby environment and manually cancel your ability mid-vault to immediately get the quicker cooldown and go into your basic attack while closer to them. This way you won't have to worry about trying to grab them and not actually doing anything, because grabbing them directly incurs a longer cooldown compared to just grabbing an environment, so use that to catch up instead of grabbing them directly when they're already injured. One final thing that's worth noting is there is a certain height limit angle that you can actually use the Kagune Leap for, so you are unable to grapple onto higher levels of things, you cannot jump over empty gaps to another ledge, you cannot jump upwards from a lower floor to a higher floor, as it will just stop you, and you can grapple to a roof, but it'll just lunge you into the same direction as it normally would if you grappled on a wall in the same position. Oh, and for whatever reason you haven't seen his Mori yet, here you go. And last but not least, we're going to talk about his 3 new perks. Starting off with Hex, Nothing But Misery. After you damage survivors 8 times with basic attacks, a dull totem will become a Hex totem, cursing all survivors. When you damage a survivor with a basic attack, they will receive hindered by 5% for 10, 12.5, or 15 seconds. This effect will last until the totem is cleansed. To be honest, this one could use some improvement. Anyways, next up is Forever Entwined. When a survivor takes damage, gain 1 token, up to 6, 7, and 8 tokens. For each token, you pick up, drop, and hook survivors 4% faster. Also, not that great. Finally, none are free. When you hook a survivor for the first time, gain 1 token up to 4. When all generators are completed, for each token, all windows and upright pallets are blocked for everyone for 12, 14, or 16 seconds to an absolute maximum of 64 seconds. Alright, that's going to conclude the patch note breakdown for 8.6.0 and including the new Tokyo Ghoul chapter. If you guys enjoyed this, as I usually try to put in the same effort if not more than the last time, there are things I've been thinking about doing even further beyond this, such as perhaps doing a showcase game, but we'll worry about that later. So if you guys did like this, I'm going to do the usual nonsense YouTuber shit and just ask that you just honestly comment. Let me know what you think. I love hearing what you guys say about my stuff, and it really encourages me to do them better and do them more. Also, sub, because I'm going to try to be doing more content. I've just been kind of busy recently with other things, but I might get back to it. So, if you're looking forward to that, I'll perhaps see you guys in the next one.